How's it going, everyone? This is the George here, and today I'm going to be reviewing Aquaman: The Lost Kingdom. I know I didn't see this movie this past weekend, but it's been Christmas, and by the way, Merry Christmas to everyone. But I got to see the movie today. It was $5 movie ticket day at my local theater. Well, I paid $7 because I saw it in an Apex theater. But yes, I got to see Aquaman and The Lost Kingdom finally. This movie was directed by James Wan, stars Jason Momoa, Yaya Abdul Mateen. Sorry if I mispronounced that name. I'm terrible with names. Patrick Wilson, Amber Heard, and this is a sequel to the 2018 Aquaman, which is a pretty interesting movie in regards to me getting into reviewing movies. Because before I started doing a YouTube channel, before I started writing reviews for the movie nerds, I used to write reviews on Facebook for my Facebook friends to show. I'm not going to show it, but I used to write reviews, and the first review that I actually posted for people to read on Facebook was a review on the first Aquaman movie. Because I was starting to get into writing about movies. I was working, not working, but like writing for my college newspaper about movie news and all that. And I wanted to test my hand, not on newspaper just yet or on a website, but just with some of my friends and family, and show them like how I write reviews and stuff. So it's pretty important in regards to me reviewing because that was kind of the first official review that I did for any kind of audience. And when it comes to the first Aquaman movie, I did enjoy that movie. It's not the best DC movie. It came out at a time where DC was trying to figure out what it wanted to do, but I enjoyed the movie. I thought visually it looked really good. I thought the villains were actually underrated. Not the greatest villains, but they were definitely pretty good villains in Ocean Master and Black Manta, who was in there for a while, but obviously setting up for the next movie. And I've always enjoyed Jason Momoa as Aquaman, and that includes the horrible Justice League cut of Justice League. And I was looking forward to a sequel to Aquaman, but this movie got delayed many times due to COVID, due to trying to finish this movie. This movie had gone through so many reshoots. You had the controversy with Amber Heard, the Johnny Depp trial with Amber Heard showing that she's not all that innocent in the whole Johnny Depp situation. I'm not going to get into that, but there was stuff about her that came out. There was stuff about the movie that was revealed in the case that said that the movie wasn't good. Then you have the announcement of the reboot happening, and the DC movies this year have just bombed. And even though I enjoyed the DC movies that had come out before this movie did, I did like Shazam. I did like The Flash, despite the horrible CGI and effects. I did like Blue Beetle. Blue Beetle was a very pleasant surprise, but they just bombed. They just did not do good, even though they marketed the hell out of The Flash. And I'm kind of shocked that they didn't market the hell out of this movie because I know it's the last DCEU movie. I know this isn't going to continue into anything, but you would think that the only $1 billion movie in the DCEU, they would try to at least market this movie to get some money in there. They really didn't. Even when the actors their strike was over, they didn't really have the actors really promote that movie. I thought they would do more promotion with Jason Momoa. So, what did I think about Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom? Because this movie is not getting good reviews. Overall, I will say it is enjoyable. I did enjoy this movie, but it's not a good movie. This movie is trying to be several different other movies. And I know people are going to say, oh, yeah, it feels like Thor the Dark World because you got Aquaman breaking out his brother, similar to how Thor broke out Loki in Thor the Dark World. But I'm not even just talking about the similarities between this and Thor the Dark World or other Thor movies. This movie has similarities to other movies beyond being a comic book movie. For example, there's this one moment where they're talking to this fish, and he almost reminds me of Jabba the Hutt. And I'm like, wait a minute, is this Star Wars underwater? Then when they go to this island, when it all of a sudden feels like that moment when in a King Kong movie, the human characters go to Skull Island and you got these giant bugs along with King Kong terrorizing. Yeah, there's giant bugs in this movie. There's this robot that one of Black Manta's to his workers has that almost reminds me, doesn't look like, but it reminded me of the robot Syndrome had in The Incredibles. And I was almost getting memories of syndrome fighting Mr. Incredible in the volcano in the first Incredibles. Some of the imagery, and some of it does look stunning. The most stunning imagery almost reminded me of Lord of the Rings at one point. I'm like, wait a minute, now it feels like a Lord of the Rings movie. This movie just feels like it lacks originality. I'm not talking about the fact that it does have some of that cookie cutter comic book movie stuff in there. It's taking from other movies, from different genres, from different franchises, and just shoving it into this movie. And some of the ideas I do like. I did like the Ocean Master Aquaman dynamic. I honestly think Patrick Wilson as Ocean Master was my favorite performance in this entire movie. I liked exploring this character more. I like the dynamic between him and Aquaman. But then it's just some of these ideas either could have just settled on one idea, but they just went with several others. And this movie is not that long. This is only 2 hours. The first Aquaman, I'm pretty sure, was longer than this, and it felt like the plot for that movie was much simpler, even if it might have been predictable at times. It just felt more simpler. Also, some of the visual effects and stuff, like the first Aquaman, was very stunning in my opinion. The underwater stuff, especially. In here, there's times when the visuals look really good, and then there's times when the visuals look really bad. The times when it looks really bad, it's very distracting, is when the characters are underwater and they're talking. They just look very off. When their hair is like bubbling back and forth, it just feels off. Their faces look off. I don't know, like something looked off with Nicole Kidman in her underwater scenes, but when she's on dry land, all of a sudden Nicole Kidman looks fine. It just feels very weird and out of place. And I don't know, the underwater scenes, I'm not saying when the characters were underwater talking, it was anything spectacular in the first movie, but I felt fine and it was less distracting. I will say the settings look really cool in this movie. The action's really cool in this movie. This movie's not terrible, but there's just some things that felt off with this movie. Some of the dialogue, the way some of the dialogue is just delivered, even though I love Jason Momoa as Aquaman, I did enjoy his performance in this movie. I will also say I felt like this was his weakest performance as Aquaman, and that includes the Justice League version of Justice League, because at least in that movie, a lot of his scenes that were really cool in Zack Snyder's Justice League were savage into the 2017 movie, and some of the add-on scenes, like even when he's doing the lasso of truth confession and he's unaware of it, the way he delivered the dialogue there, yeah, it feels off and some people won't find it funny. I felt like he actually did pretty well with that scene. Here, there's just moments where they should be dramatic, but the way he just delivers the dialogue just feels off. So Amber Heard is in this movie as Mara, and she's actually in this movie a lot more than what scoopers were saying. Like they were saying, oh, she got cut out, or like she's only in the movie for like a little bit. No, she's in the movie a lot more than expected. She's out of commission at one point. This is more focused on the brother adventure dynamic between Aquaman and Ocean Master. As far as the Mara stuff goes, I mean, Amber Heard, I'm not going to get into the whole Johnny Depp thing. I mean, her performance was fine. I wouldn't say there was a terrible performance in this movie. There was just terrible delivery of certain dialogue, though. Um, yeah, Abdul Mateen as Black Manta, I did enjoy his performance, but it just felt like it wasn't as good as it was being set up in the first Aquaman. His small scenes in the first Aquaman movie, I thought were really good, and I thought he was going to continue that great performance into this movie. And it was like he's still very good, but he takes a step back. It felt like the horror stuff, like James Wan is terrific at horror, and the fact the trench stuff in the first Aquaman, in my opinion, was the best thing about that movie. The horror stuff in this movie, I think, is really cool. Like when like dead soldiers are coming back, like that's really cool. The action's very entertaining. I like the third act a lot. I thought the third act landed on the right notes. But Aquaman Lost Kingdom just felt like it was all over the place for a 2 hour movie and ends the DCEU on a not so high note. And of the four DCEU movies that came out this year, this does feel like the weakest. Now, again, it's kind of in the same category as the Marvels, where I enjoyed the movie, but I didn't think it was a good movie. Although this movie did have a better villain than the Marvels. But I will also say that I think Brie Larson gave a better performance in the Marvels than Jason Momoa did it as Aquaman, which is crazy to think because Jason Momoa is usually awesome as Aquaman. And again, I do want to reiterate, I still enjoyed his performance, but there were times where his dialogue delivery just felt off. And yeah, the DCU is over. Maybe one day I'll do a stream ranking all these movies, but yeah, this isn't as good as the first Aquaman. I still enjoyed this more than Wonder Woman 1984, Justice League 2017, Suicide Squad from 2016, and Black Adam. Like, because this movie does have enjoyable moments. I think the enjoyable, funny moments in Aquaman: The Lost Kingdom will age better than than what are supposed to be funny moments in those movies that just didn't execute well. But overall, I'm gonna give Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom a C plus. I was hoping for more from this movie because I'm also a fan of James Wan, not just as a director of the first Aquaman, but also as a horror director. I love Furious 7, the one Fast and Furious movie that he did direct. So I was just expecting more from James Wan, but obviously there was so much other stuff happening during the filming of this movie, and I don't hold that against him at the same time. But yeah, Aquaman the Lost Kingdom, what did you think about it? Let me know in the comments down below. Did you love it? Did you hate it? And with the DCEU over, what was your favorite, least favorite, or biggest surprise from the DCEU? Because it's not like everything in the DCEU was bad. There were some really good surprises in this movie. I did mention Blue Beetle was one of those pleasant surprises in the DCEU, as well as Shazam. The first Shazam was a pleasant surprise. Let me know in the comments down below, and I want to thank you guys for watching. Please like and subscribe already if you haven't. Please share this with someone that enjoys the DCEU, that enjoys comic book movies, and I hope to see you guys real soon. Take care, everyone.